All right, y'all. I am officially back. Man, I was not planning on, you know, being away like this for like a month. I mean, I think I've got like two videos up within the last month, which is about half of what I usually do. I feel like I've done like nothing for like a month, but man, I've for whatever reason, my channel has been doing good, even though even though I haven't really been on it, it's absolutely amazing. You never know what's gonna happen, dude. I can tell you that much. So I wasn't even looking at the channel because I was so like I just couldn't deal with it. I was like I didn't want to see how bad it was. You know what I mean? And then I ended up looking at it and it was like thriving. So apparently my video about how it feels to OD has been going kind of viral again, and I've been picking up a bunch of subs and a bunch of views, and welcomed all the new people. I appreciate y'all, and I especially appreciate the people who've been with me since the beginning, sticking with me, even though I'm like barely paying any attention to any of my channels. I got a million comments to respond to on Patreon, and it's just been a hectic month. So just to catch everyone up, I'm going to talk about hurricanes in this video. But so I was staying in this trailer at my mechanic's. I've been trying to get my mechanic to fix my car for like a year now. But I wasn't in a real rush with it because I was trying to deal with all the insurance. Watch my previous videos if you want to catch up on all that. I don't want to tell the same story in every video, but like the last video or two should catch you up on the current situation. So anyways, the mechanic finally fixed my car, and my car is running, and I'm building it back out. I mean, you can see back there. Like, I'll do a walkthrough. I got a solar panel right here. Um, Soon, probably then maybe the next within the next video or two, I will do a walkthrough of my build out. It's pretty badass. You'd be amazed how cool my setup is in this little tiny CRV. Like, if anyone's going to be living in an SUV, you should probably pay attention to my setup because I've got a second generation CRV, which in my opinion they're the best CRVs. They're the best small SUVs. Hondas are just bulletproof, dude. I mean, this thing has been wrecked more than once. This thing is a tank, bro. This thing is indestructible. Hondas are just badass cars, bro. I don't care what anyone says. Hondas and Toyotas, bro. That's unless you want, supercars and Lamborghinis and shit, then Hondas and Toyotas are the way to go, if you ask me. And I'm not some car pro. A lot of mechanics like all kinds of cars. I'm always amazed how, um, it seems to me that a lot of mechanics don't even realize how great Hondas and Toyotas are. But anyways, so I mean, the other thing with them, they're so easy to work on. Not that I know a little bit about working on cars, but the parts. I mean, you can get parts for Hondas from junkyards. You can get them from Amazon. You can get them from a million different places. And the other thing with Hondas is like they're all interchangeable. Like a CRV is basically a Civic with an SUV body. So Accords and Civics and CRVs, like the parts are all like interchangeable. You know what I mean? Although, I mean, this video is not about Hondas, but so I've been sleeping in the car again, and like I said, you'd be amazed how comfortable I am. Way happier and more comfortable sleeping in my car than I was sleeping in that trailer or the garage where I've been sleeping for the last year. It's really nice to be back in my car, which is so, it's just compared to the places I've been living for the past 10, 15 years, it's so clean and it's so neat and everything is organized. I know where everything is. You know, I got a refrigerator. I got a friggin' air fryer in here. Wait till you see it. I'll show you all my setup. I got all my tools, so I'll tell you all about all the hurricanes that have impacted my life. Now, this last one, Debbie, Hurricane Debbie. I thought it was going to be nothing. I'm like, it's a tropical storm. It's like 80 miles out. It's going to be nothing. And of course, it's the one that you don't see coming. You know what I mean? So I'll get to this one. Let me tell you about the other hurricanes that have impacted my life. Now, I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but the first hurricane I ever experienced, I was living in New York in Long Island, Valley Stream. That's where I'm from, right outside of Queens. Valley Stream is on the border of like, Laurelton, Jamaica. It's right outside of Queens. It's basically Queens, Valley Stream, where I'm from. So I think the hurricane was Hurricane Hugo, and I was a little kid, and I remember, there was hearing all this stuff about this hurricane, and I was a little scared because everyone around me was like, you know, talking about this hurricane, this big storm that's going to come. And so we are in our living room, and I was young, man. I don't remember how old I was, but I was a little kid. I was in elementary school at the time. I remember me and my friend were planning on meeting up during the hurricane, and we were thinking the wind was going to make us fly and shit. This is what we were thinking. But my mother wouldn't let me go out. But yeah, me and my friend were gonna meet up and like, have fun in the hurricane. We thought we were, but our parents didn't let us go out. But so my mother was nervous. My father was a fireman in New York, so he wasn't home. He was working. I think the firemen worked 48 on, 24 off or something. My father was gone for a couple of days. He was working at the firehouse, so it was me, my brother, and my mother, and we're sitting there in the living room, and the hurricane's kind of raging outside, and then we see two people in our backyard, all in rain gear and shit. And my mother's like freaking out. She's like, "What the fuck?" And they knock on the back door, and it was my uncle and his girlfriend just, out hanging out in the hurricane or whatever, and they were checking in on us. My mother was scared shitless. She didn't know if somebody was breaking into our house or if evacuation people were coming or what. But that's my oldest memory of a hurricane. The next one to impact my life, I was living in Florida. My parents moved us to Florida when I was like 13 or whatever. My father retired from the fire department. We moved to Florida. So, um, all throughout high school, I don't remember any real hurricane situations. There must have been a few. They didn't really have any impact on my life. I don't remember any. The next one I remember really impacting my life was I was laying sod for my buddy Jay. He was paying us a lot of money because me and the Cuban Albert, who worked for Jay, we did immaculate work. We got Jay a really good reputation, and our business was booming. So me and Albert, we would just do really pretty, immaculate landscaping jobs. Now we were laying sod, so people would call our company when they wanted their shitty, ugly, disgusting lawn removed, and they wanted a brand new, nice one put in. That's what we did. And me and Albert were just really good at it. And I have a little artistic ability, so we would cut the beds real nice. We'd make it real nice, real pretty. We did real clean work. We wouldn't be out there busting water pipes and shit. We were good. And so our boss paid us a lot because he wanted to keep me and Albert working for him. And so for years I worked for Jay. Must have been, I don't know, 3, 4 years. Everything was going fine. And then 2004 rolls around, and you got to understand, I actually loved my job laying sod. That most people would be like, oh, I don't want to lay sod. Like, I loved it. I got along great with Albert, the Cuban I worked with. He escaped from Cuba and came to America, and me and Albert were real tight. We worked really well together. We'd get out on a job. We didn't even have to talk. We knew, I'm gonna do this part, you're gonna do that part. We're gonna do these parts together, and we would just slam out jobs like there was no tomorrow. And like I said, we're making a lot of money to do it. And I had this apartment in Dunedin at the time, and me and my friends would be smoking out and playing Halo in my living room, and Albert would pop up every once in a while, and we'd be playing four-player Halo, and Albert, he's from Cuba. He's from a pretty poor part of Cuba too, although he made a lot of money in Cuba. But he's from the country in Cuba, so all this Xbox and PlayStation, all this shit's like he thought he was blown away by it. And we'd be playing four-player Halo, and we were pretty competitive with it. And we would never pull punches on Albert because we wanted to rack up the kills to beat each other. So Albert used to be getting pissed. We'd just be as soon as anyone would see Albert, he'd be getting lit up. like, but so life was pretty easy at the time. I'm chilling, smoking weed, hanging out with my friends. The Albert's coming and hanging out with us and shit. And 2004, August 2004, we're hearing about Hurricane Charley coming. Me and Albert did a job in Tampa. Little did I know this was the last side job I was ever gonna do. I didn't realize it at the time. We normally our season would we'd be working, you know, we'd be busy up until September, October, and then November, December, January would be very, very slow, but we'd still be getting a little bit of work here and there. The winter would be tight, but we would have made so much money through the spring, summer, and fall that it didn't matter. We'd have thousands in the bank, and we would just chill all winter. And then once spring came, we'd be laying sod again. And so August, it's getting towards the end of the season, but we're still expecting to be working till September, October pretty steadily. Anyways, we're hearing about Hurricane Charley coming, and me and Albert do a job out in Tampa, and we're hearing on the radio Hurricane Charley. It's going to be a nasty one, and this and that. And I'm thinking, it ain't gonna be shit, And Albert's like, nah, man. He's like, Joe, the hurricane. That's how he says it. He barely spoke English. I taught him how to speak all his English. He used to sound just like me. Same slang, everything. But Albert was like, "Nah, man, hurricanes are serious shit," because he's from like out in the country on the west side of Cuba. Pinar del Rio is where he's from, and they just get hammered with hurricanes every year. But it doesn't even matter to them because they build these little tiny concrete block houses that the hurricanes they can't do much to a solid little structure like that. But Albert was like, man, no, hurricanes are serious shit. And I was like, it ain't gonna be nothing. Anyways, it ended up being something. So Hurricane Charley comes through, and it's heading directly towards Clearwater, Tampa, St. Pete, and this is supposed to be a real bad hurricane. I didn't I had no real experience with serious hurricanes at this time. Me and all my friends, the night before that hurricane came, we were partying our asses off in Florida. Everyone just, when you are at our age at that time in Florida, we would, any excuse to party, we were on it. So no one had to work the next day. So I think we went to a house party that night. We got fucking hammered. And the next day, I'm in my apartment, and luckily for us, Hurricane Charley took a turn right at the end, and it hit Punta Gorda. But it rocked Punta Gorda hard. I didn't realize how serious this hurricane was, even though it like that's around Port Charlotte. That's 100 miles south of where I'm at. That hurricane, my aunt and uncle lived down there. It tore the roof off of their house. It was a serious fucking storm. And I'm in Clearwater, Dunedin, and I remember sitting in my living room, and as that hurricane got closer, I could feel the air pressure changing. I don't know how to explain it, but even if you lived 1,000 years ago, you would know that something serious was coming. You just feel it in the air. I don't even know how to explain it, but there was a definite change. Like the air pressure changed, or so, like the 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 environment was just different, and you knew something very powerful was coming. And so I was like, oh shit. And it ended up hitting way south of us, didn't even hit us. But I didn't lose power or nothing. A couple of my friends came over. We just hung out, smoked weed, played video games. And then next thing I know, there's another hurricane coming. This is, you can Google 2004 Atlantic hurricane season, and you'll see after Charley, it was just one after the other, one hurricane after another, just slamming into Florida. So what ended up happening was our business went, our season ended in August, which means, you know, we usually towards the end of the season I'd be saving up my money, but usually around September, October is when I would start getting frugal with my money because I knew the winter was going to be slow. But this season we ended a couple of months early because it was one hurricane after another. I don't remember the names of them. There was Ivan. There was I forget. There was I think it was Ivan. Either way, there was one hurricane after another. So we didn't work from that the day before. It was a day or two before Charlie. We did that job in Tampa, and then there was no more work. I was expecting, you know, we were both expecting work, but none came because of all these hurricanes. People stopped worrying about getting a new lawn, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, one hurricane would come through, and then the next thing on the news, they're like, here comes another one. And it was one after the other from August till about November. And I was like, holy shit. I just spent all my money on rent. I haven't worked since August, and I've got to find a new friggin' job, which really it sucked because I really loved my job with the sod and everything, but I needed a job. So that's when I started doing construction and, going from rich, making thousands of dollars every week to making minimum wage because I didn't have any experience in construction. I had to be broke for years after that. Once I started doing construction, I was broke for a couple of years because I was I had no experience and I was learning and I was just like not making any money. And it sucked. Anyways, there was that 2004 hurricane season changed my life. Took me out of the sod business. And the only person I would lay sod for was Jay. I wouldn't go lay sod for anyone else because Jay paid me 5 times what anyone else would because Jay knew me and Jay knew that I did immaculate work and all that shit. And anyways, so that was the end of my sod career. Not that I planned on doing sod for the rest of my life, but I was getting paid a lot of money to do it. I liked the job. I liked the physical workout of it. I liked being out in the sun. So I started doing construction. I'm living my life. Everything's normal. Next thing you know, the financial crisis of 2008 or something it hits, and anyways, I end up in New York. I'm living in New York on Long Island, and I had quit my job. I was working at the horse track at Belmont on Long Island. I had quit the job. This is years and years later. We're talking, so 2004 Hurricane Charley turned my life upside down. Doing construction, years go by. I mean, now if you want like details on all this shit, my previous videos explain all that. Why I was homeless, that series of videos kind of will give you a rundown of everything. And so, anyways, I'm gonna skip a lot. So, here. I am living on Long Island. I quit my job. I'm doing, street performing type shit. I'm telling jokes out on the street in New York City for $1 a piece. Taking the bus from. I'm living in Valley Stream again, renting an apartment in like a kind of shitty part of Valley Stream. And I'm doing this like dollar joke thing. I can't really afford to pay my rent, so my landlord, who I actually kind of like the landlord, she didn't want me to leave. She was like, look, don't pay rent. When you get back on your feet, pay me, you know, pay me, catch up with me, whatever. She didn't even care. She was being really like cool about it, but little did she know I wanted to leave that apartment. That apartment was like this dungeon basement illegal shithole. Um, and the only thing I liked about that apartment was my roommate Nas, who ended up being one of my best friends. Uh, I tell I got some Nas stories in previous videos. He was in a gang and all this shit, but he was a cool kid. Me and Nas were tight. Um, I wasn't in. I've never been in any type of gang or anything, but Nas was. But you'd never know it. He was like a nice kid, anyways. So, um, at one point when I was homeless, I went and stayed in this like trap house in Hollis, Queens, gutter ghetto part of Queens, and Nas was staying there, and Nas was like, "Come stay with me." And I stayed with Nas in this like trap house with all these like gangster fucking. I tell the story in a previous video, but the way these kids made money was nothing legal, and they would not hesitate to do violence and robberies and all kinds of shit. Anyways, so here I am staying in this apartment, and Nas is not paying rent either. It was just the way things worked out. But the landlord wanted Nas to leave. They didn't like Nas. They did like me though. Uh, what the what the hell is that? Oh, is that Amazon? Shit, I gotta deliver it. God damn it. Alright. Um, I'm gonna just keep doing I'm gonna keep doing my video. Actually, let me go get my delivery. I'll cut this part out of the video. Oh shit. Alright, let's see what it is. I think it's I'll show y'all. So it's rolling papers. I get rolling papers way cheaper off Amazon. And it is well, let's see. I got a couple things coming today. And I think this is yeah. So, have you guys ever heard of Von B's honey? This is gonna come off like a commercial, but they don't pay me. I just, this shit is like, now, there was an account on Instagram, Dr. Claw, who I used to follow, who used to talk about a lot of strange things, like, yeah, I mean, you'd have to watch his videos, but things like he would show videos of these like creatures coming out of the sewer and shit. And I assumed it was all just kind of nonsense and entertainment. But then, if you go on my Patreon, someone else kind of corroborates these that there's a lot of animals and creatures living on Earth that no one knows anything about, and some of them are kind of nasty. Remember those cow mutilation things? That was done apparently by these creatures that suck the blood out of the fucking cows, and they live underground. And it sounds like nonsense, but if you look into those cow mutilation things, they're like no one could explain what happened because they were drained of their blood and there was no blood on the ground, and you'd have to look into it. Anyways, Dr. Claw was saying that Von B's honey, this stuff, is like some sort of genetic mutant. Like they genetically modified these bees in Korea to produce this super healthy honey. Now I get this Von B's honey citron ginger. I put a couple of spoons of this in a bottle of water, shake it up, and I was sick last week, and this shit helped me to like beat it. I'm telling you, you drink this tea, and it's like everything clears up. And anyways, I don't want to do a Von B's commercial, but this shit is good shit. And according to Dr. Claw, It's like magic, and I don't know, it might be. So, anyways, um, I gotta keep my eye out for other deliveries. I've got some curtains coming for here, and I've got what else? I think filters for my cigarettes. All right, so now the next hurricane. So I hadn't paid rent in months. The landlord, to her credit, didn't even care. She was like, "When you can pay me, pay me. I don't mind. I like you as a tenant. You're a good kid. I don't want to lose you, basically." But I didn't want to stay there. So next thing I know, Hurricane Sandy comes through. There's no power. They're burning trash over there. That's why this like this haze of smoke in the air. Hurricane Sandy. It's a Category 1. It hits New York. It's moving so unbelievably slow. This thing just sat on top of New York doing damage for days. I couldn't believe it. And New York is not like Florida. Like Florida, when the hurricanes come, Florida's kind of ready. Florida, the power goes out, they get it back up and running very quickly because Florida knows what they're doing when it comes to hurricanes. New York, on the other hand, when uh, the power was out on a lot of parts of Long Island, including where I was staying. So I'm like, this dungeon basement shithole where I can't even charge my phone. I was planning on leaving there anyway, and I was planning on just going and being homeless because it's a long story. Just watch my wireless homeless videos if you want the details. But that was like the last straw. Once Hurricane Sandy came through, and there was no power in the apartment. I'm just in this basement dungeon. I can't even charge my phone. I'm like, I'm ditching this place. I walked over to my aunt and uncle's who had a generator. They had no power either. They're in another part of Long Island. I just walked over there. I charge up my phone. My other uncle, who was living on Long Beach, got completely flooded out of his place. I could not believe the amount of damage Hurricane Sandy did to New York, which I assumed was going to be nothing. It was a Category 1 bordering on a tropical storm. The problem was it was moving so slowly that it just sat there flooding New York and ruining everything. Half the trains weren't running, the subways were. So, anyways, I'm like, I'm ditching this apartment. I took what I could carry in my backpack and I left the place. Went to my aunt and uncle's, charged up my phone, told them about my plan to go be homeless in the city. They're like, "You're out of your fucking mind." Anyways, my uncle gives me a ride to the train station in Jamaica. They stopped at a restaurant, got me a bunch of food. They're like, "Well, if you're gonna go be homeless, we may as well feed you and send you on your way." And so my aunt and uncle took me to some diner, and we got a bunch of food. And then I took the train from Jamaica out to the city, and I was homeless out in the city for the next fucking 10 years or some shit. So that was Hurricane Sandy. And when I got out to the city, I could not believe it. From 29th Street in Manhattan south, there was no power. So I think it was 29th or 25th. So I walked over there just to check it out. And I'm telling you, it was like complete darkness from 29. You never seen nothing like it. And none of the southern trains were running in the southern part of Manhattan. Everything was flooded out. The E train wasn't running. The A train was running weird. Everything was fucking weird. And so my first few weeks being homeless in New York City were very fucking strange because Hurricane Sandy had just wrecked the Manhattan that I knew, the Manhattan where I knew the spots to make money and shit. Like, some of my spots were closed. Strawberry Fields, one of my main spots, was closed off due to fallen branches. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, people are not that stupid to where they're just gonna like get hurt by branches on the ground. I was so annoyed. Anyways, that was Hurricane Sandy, which completely turned my life upside down. Although my life was going to be upside down anyway, it added to the weirdness of it. Hold on. Well, so there was that one. And I tell you what, I could not wait till things got back to normal because, it was just on top of everything else, me being homeless for the first time and all that shit. Manhattan was just, man, this video is getting long. Manhattan was just really weird and strange because of this hurricane that just came through and turned everything upside down. So there was that hurricane. Now, next, fast forward, I don't know, 10 years or so, I'm living in Florida in a car. My window doesn't go up or down. Hurricane Ian, this was last year or two. The one that really wrecked Sanibel Island, which is like maybe 50 miles south of where I'm at. I'm not sure exactly. It's down in Sarasota. I'm in Clearwater, St. Pete area. And so Hurricane Ian comes through. I think it was Ian. And my car, my window doesn't go up or down. My window is stuck down. I'm like, oh shit. This is like in 2020, there was a hurricane that came through. I just slept through it in my car. So I think this was 2021 or 2022 when Hurricane Ian came through, and my window don't work. So I took saran wrap and just wrapped it around the window to try to keep as much water out as possible. And I just hunkered down in this parking lot, and I was just stuck in my car all day with this hurricane blasting wind and rain into my car through my saran wrapped window. Uh, and it just sucked. Although, it could have been worse. I'll put it to you that way. That hurricane didn't hit us that bad. What amazed me was I was able to watch on my phone live as that hurricane just wrecked Sanibel Island. You wouldn't believe, you can look up the video if you want of Hurricane Ian hitting Sanibel Island, and holy shit, that fucking that beach was demolished from that hurricane. So hurricanes are no joke. So, anyways, fast forward a couple years to this hurricane. Now, I finally get my car fixed. My car's running. I'm excited. I'm building it back out. I want to get I want to get this shit done. I check the weather. Here comes a fucking tropical storm slash hurricane, Hurricane Debbie. I'm like, God damn it. Like, right when I'm getting to build out my car again, a goddamn fucking hurricane comes. I'm annoyed. So, you can't see behind me, but I park my car under the carport because I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to still work on my car. I don't give a shit about this hurricane. I got shit to do. And so I'm working all day on my car in and out of the garage and the carport. Now, where I had to park, there's no garage there. It's just this carport thing. But I couldn't pull all the way under it, so the rain's pouring off the roof onto the roof of my car on like the rear end, but I'm thinking nothing of it. So I'm working on my car the whole time. Next thing I know, I look inside. I realize that all this water pouring off of this roof is going through my back door and into my car, into my tire well, where I keep all my tools. So there's water. It was as if someone had a fire hose and was spraying it onto the roof of my car where the back door is. And a lot of that water was leaking through that door just from the amount, this torrent that was coming down off of the roof. It was just too much water for my car to deal with, and it was all coming through the back door. And I was like, oh shit. And I slept in my car that night, and I was trying to plug it up with paper towels, and every couple of hours, the water would just pour in again, and I would have to switch out all the paper towels. So I'm back in my car, getting flooded out by this thing. Everything I had got soaked. As soon as I moved into my car, this is what happened. Everything gets soaked like my bed. I slept in water that night in the back of my car. Anyways, so I wake up the next day and I'm like, all right, shit, well, at least it's done. and I'm trying to dry everything. Next thing I know, the rain is coming and going, so I couldn't really dry my stuff off. So I just go to the laundromat and use the dryer and dry my bed, and then I check the tire well to see how much water got in there, and my tools, all my tools in my tire well, were submerged in about 10 inches of water. I couldn't fucking believe it. Um, I had to, you know, get all the water out of there and dry all that shit out. And, anyways, so yeah, Hurricane Debbie was yet another hurricane that had a big impact on my life, just flooded my car out, which it's always the one where you think it's going to be nothing, you know what I mean? So, anyways, that's my story about the hurricanes. Hopefully, this video is not uh, too all over the place. I got the delivery in the middle of it and everything. Anyways, so I appreciate every single one of y'all. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for all the new subs. I picked up like 2,000 subs over the last like week. Welcome to the show, y'all. I appreciate you. Um, and I should be pretty consistent from here on out. Like I've things are coming back together finally. I'm gonna start uploading my Red Dead Redemption playthrough on the other channel again. I'm sorry for this month. I'll explain it in detail in another video exactly what went wrong this past month and why I couldn't get anything done. But the last Red Dead Redemption playthrough I uploaded is pretty hilarious. I think that's the one because right at the end of the video, I get in this huge shootout, and the horse that I had at the time, Molly, is a scaredy cat, and so she bucked me off like 5 times, and I'm like, I got this town full of people trying to kill me, and my horse, I'm like chasing my horse down the road. It was pretty funny. Anyways, I guess that's the end of this video. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for staying with me. Um, Patreon, thanks for your patience. I will get to respond. I, I will respond to every comment I've missed over the last weeks. And if I don't respond to it, just erase it and put it back up so I get the notification so I see it because I missed a lot of comments over this last week. For the past week straight, I've been just working on my car. And so I appreciate the patience, y'all. Anyways, I guess that's the end of this video. Oh, thanks for the tips. Thanks for the subs, likes, comments, tips. Uh, People throw me tips on Cashapp, Venmo, and PayPal, and all that. And I can thank them on Venmo and Cashapp, but not on PayPal. It doesn't let me respond to people for I don't know why, but just know I appreciate you. So. Oh, I got to respond to messages on Facebook too. I'm not ignoring anyone. It's just it's been nuts lately. So I will get back to everyone ASAP. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.